All right, good morning. Monday, February 3rd. We're in it. Longest January ever. I thought it went by quick, but then my wife was relaying what all happened in January, how late we got back into school, went on vacation, had a snow week. A little bit wild. So here we are, and boy, I feel it out there. We just came off of our award ceremony for the year over the weekend, celebrating with all the Sotheby's agents, and you can kind of feel the energy out there, but I think that's going to relate into what we talk about. But I want you to stick around at the end of the numbers because I'm going to address something that I am seeing over and over again on YouTube and other outlets, and I've gotten some questions in the last couple of weeks about it, and I want to address it, but there is some fear-mongering going on. We know that stuff sells out there, but we're going to get back into that facts over feeling, but I'm going to point out a couple things to you and just really dig in on that so that you're clear on where I stand on that particular topic, okay? Now, here we go, new listings. As we wake up, and again, if you're just joining us for the first time, we pull 72-hour window and we treat that as the week that was here along the Emerald Coast in real estate, all right? New listings, 59, all right? Now, it's up there again, right? Last week we were really high. Now we're back up there, right? So we're hovering. We were in those 40s throughout the end of the fall. Now we're going up there. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. I know what's going on. I'm going to talk about it in a second. Pending properties, 21. Now, the good and the bad with that. If you've been watching and you've been a follower, let's say, you know that staying in the 20s on pending has been very consistent. And what was happening is we were hitting our 50% ratio, meaning we want the pending contracts to be at least half of the new listings so that we're systematically moving through that inventory pretty good, okay? That's our ratio, that as 10 come on, we can take 5 away. That's the way we like to juggle. That's an increase in inventory as expected because we were so low for so long, but that's kind of the barometer and the metric of which we're weighing because we've been staying around that for so long. So when we see 21 and we see 59, we're well below that 50% ratio. Now, two things I want to point out. One, the 21 is very consistent. We are consistently writing the same amount of pendings throughout the winter time and into this first of the year. That's encouraging. The difference is, as over the last 2 weeks, when Snowmageddon started and we're waking up, we've got an influx of new listings. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Let's go to closings. Closed 19. Again, that's ticking along. If you remember, last week I think we had 10. That was because of Snowmageddon, because nobody could really get in the title office. So having 19 closings, again, right on par. I love for those pendings and those closings to stay equal with each other, okay? Why? Because if we have a super increase in pendings, but we see no change in closings, are we getting them to the finish line? It leaves you to wonder, right? So I like consistency amongst the pendings and the closings. Price changes, 62. So I think, remember last week, I believe we were at 82 last week. So we're back in that game of people making moves and getting into the first of the year, right? So it's lower than last year, more than what we've seen throughout the end of the fall, but honestly getting closer to what we experienced in spring and summer, early fall last year, was that 62 on the price changes. Now, a couple of topics. Casey, why are we seeing all the new listings? Is everything okay? Yes, everything's fine. Let me point this out again. A lot of these new listings are takedowns, bringing it back on the market. Now, that's been the way. But when I see price changes also up there, it's a balance of both. So we are seeing new listings. So what's going on? Well, I'll tell you. Because here's the question that you got to ask yourself. Man, it's kind of been like a quiet fall. Why would all of a sudden the new listings pick up in January versus like November? That's a great question. Let me tell you why. It is real estate agent driven. What do you mean by that, Casey? Most people in my industry look to finish off the year in what they were doing and close out. And then I can tell you, coming off of my company awards gala this past weekend, everybody's like showing videos of them back out of laptops like getting to work. So what happens is the real estate agents start waking up and start stockpiling and working for listings as we go into the spring. And that drives that number up. So here everybody is waking up and they're wanting to bring these properties onto the market. So you got to understand our industry. Most of the listings are not inbound listings. Most of it's people calling them asking if they would like to list. And that's the truth. okay? So now, if you've been in the business, I've been into it 17 years now, and then for the leads I get on YouTube, I do get a good amount of inbound people calling me, hey, saying, hey, look, I think it's time to list, okay? But a lot of it is agents thrive off of getting listings because if they have a sign in the yard, it promotes that they're busy and they can get phone calls on that, and it keeps generating more business. It's always going to be the way. I'm not talking about my business, I'm just telling you the reality of my business. So the reason we're having a spike right now in January is I don't think, when I have to weigh the two, do I think a bunch of people woke up and go, man, it's January, we really should sell that property? Or is it agents getting more active as we get close to the spring? I'm voting on the agents getting more active and just stirring up the business, and I think this level's off. That's my prediction. We'll watch it through February. One other key note this year, man, Easter's like in mid-April. So a lot of years I talk about the build up to March. This year it's going to be kind of like the build up to mid-March for the flow of people that start to come in. We're busy right now, but I'm saying that the calendar's a little bit pushed back this year. All right, gotta address this. I got another email over the weekend on it. It's a very good question. If you're watching, thank you for that. So I'm not picking on you, but I've gotten this multiple times on phone calls and everything. And the question is generally like this: Casey, is the Florida real estate market crashing? What a question. But I want to let you know that's a very consistent phrasing of when I get that question. And here's why. My fellow YouTube brethren across the state of Florida, there's two ways that you can make money and help people on YouTube. One is the way I do it. I don't go for a ton of followers. I assume that the people that are following our channel are super interested in Destin and 38 real estate and are here to learn more about it. If not, I don't really have that much more to share with you other than some pretty videos now and again, right? Then there's another segment that tries to get as many eyeballs, much like CNN and things like that. And the more followers they get, YouTube actually pays them money. Okay? So they're trying to generate up. And what's the easiest way to generate hype and get everybody excited is to put a headline like Florida real estate market in free fall, and maybe you'll see a picture of a person like this. If I get to that, somebody please call me. If you ever see a picture of me, just big eye, like I'm scared on a screenshot, please call me and tell me I'm doing things wrong, okay? But it takes you 10 minutes to type it in Florida real estate and you'll see a line of them and they have tremendous views. Now, listen, I'm also not naive. Most of the conversation point is about condos. This is the toughest year for Florida condos that I've ever experienced. And I want to dive in on that for a second. It's all because the new regulation went around and basically said, we're going to super inspect your building to make sure you've been keeping up with your maintenance the right way. And we're going to take a look at your reserves to make sure you've been doing accounting right on the back end. And if either one of those are out of balance, you need to fix them right now. Not a 5-year plan, like right now. Because of that, many condo buildings found themselves in very tough situations mixed with rising insurance costs. So for a lot of buildings, it was a bit of a perfect storm, especially much older buildings, okay? So Florida's a big state. We live in a bubble within a bubble, I like to say. But across Florida, there are some unfortunate pockets that had condos that were, a lot of retirees were living there. Well, if you're on a fixed income and you're living in a condo building, all of a sudden they're hitting you with a repair assessment, the insurance went up, and you've got to support the reserve budget because somebody's been kicking the can down the road for years. Unfortunately, there were some horrible stories out there, and a lot of that is fact-based that you're seeing on YouTube. But what they try to do is take an isolated building and paint the entire narrative for the state of Florida. Listen, we bring you numbers each week. I just give them to you. When I broke down the market report, I broke down the condos. You can see the page. It shows you what we're doing. There are buildings that took it on the chin worse than others here. But here's the good news. Whatever we experienced in this year with the rising insurance, the need for assessments for a lot of these repairs, okay, and the recalculating of these reserve studies, you need to look at some of these buildings, especially if you're a fan of this area, and go, man, if they made it through that, okay, and they're healthy right now and thriving, they're in a good situation for years to come. So that's the upside of this, okay? Is that once you get through this in a lot of these buildings, the future is bright, all right? So what I'm saying to you is, it's headline driven. It wants to paint a picture of the entire state of Florida to kind of drive some fear and get some views and get some responses. And that's fine, but you know that we're super local in nature. And I'm bringing you what's going on the ground here. And if I run into a situation across the board with condos where it's just getting ugly, you know I'll let you know, but we're out there shopping for it. And what we do is we make sure in every building we understand what's going on, what might be coming down the road, okay? As much as we can based on it. But here's the nice thing. In this last 2 years, everybody was required to do all this activity so we could ask for the report and see what's on the horizon, okay? So don't let those doom and gloom snapshots that you see on YouTube paint the picture for the entire state of Florida. Let's keep it hyper local to what we're doing here, and I'll lay it out for you. I'll let you know if we start seeing some wild stuff or some things to stay away from, because I want to be with you forever, right? So that's it. Just had to get on that because I've had that question, and I know that, but if you ever see me doing those videos, like why not to buy in an area or just to try to generate views, please call me out. If you ever see me looking scared on a video capture, please call me out, because that's not my intention. I'm just here to educate and help you guys. So, man, that's it. We got a lot going on. Showings today, new listings coming on. We're excited. I'm excited to bring this to you every week because 2025 is going to be super interesting for a lot of factors. We're settling in on some things like rental, things like that. Market reports coming to you this week. Maggie's been working hard on that. We got a ton more for you. So thanks so much for tuning in, and talk to you soon.